Welcome to episode 159 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny, bringing you a fun Belmont Stakes special show, all horses, covering the pick five leading up to the Belmont Stakes this Saturday, which will be held at Saratoga Racecourse for the second year. My co-host, Jason Sayed, is with me.
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Jason, how you doing? We got Jimmy the Chalk.
Show so big we needed 2 weeks to prepare for it.
Yeah, we took a little hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when we talk horses, we have the no one better, but who brings the people. Jimmy D.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back as always.
Triumphantly coming back after his Sovereignty Derby pick. So we will wait with bated breath for his Belmont Stakes pick.
Well,
Yeah, we will see sovereignty again.
yeah, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn. Was fortunate.
All right, so tonight's episode is brought to you by Giovannina's Peachy. You tried the rest. Now try the best. Grab a pie, sit down on a Saturday and watch some stakes action at Belmont, which we are going to dive into right now. So we're going to cover the pick five, which would be race 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, which is the Belmont. But the race prior is the Met Mile, which is always a big, sometimes the biggest race of the year. It was lining up to have like just the showstoppers of Nisos, like Mind Frame, but a lot of them skipped it. So it's a short field of five, but we got two big horses here. Jason, quickly before we jump into the pick five, what did you think around the Met Mile, which is race 8 on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a short field, but there's quality, right? You got pretty much have 4 horses that could possibly win. Most likely only 2 horses, one of the 2 will win. But I did my best to try to beat White Barrio and Fierceness. And I saw Rising Torrent. And I don't have the PP in front of me, so if I'm bungling any names, just call me out. But
Raging.
raising, yeah, and I was like, oh, "This horse is fast. This horse is gonna get the lead. Maybe I'll take a shot." And then I saw who the jockey was, and I was like, I pass." So I guess and just a touch is just a step. If you look at the thoroughgraph numbers, just a step below White Barrio and Fierceness. So, I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I'm gonna take a shot with White Barrio to beat Fierceness.
Yeah, Chalky.
I know I said White Barrio when we were talking pre-show, but I changed my mind on fierceness.
Because I picked them.
I mean, no. I just think those 4 horses can all fight for the lead. I think fierceness might be best whipped to sit off a little bit, and the fact that Pletcher and Rapoli are running fierceness here instead of Mind Frame, who acquitted himself very well in that Churchill race, says that they're very high on fierceness. So I'm gonna go fierceness.
Jimmy D.
If you guys remember, I like Fierceness for a lot of reasons. I think he's the best horse in the country right now, in this country right now. Let me be specific. As a 4-year-old, he's blossomed, gotten bigger, gotten faster. He loves Saratoga. He's 3 for 3. I was probably the only guy in the world that said if they went around another time, Torpedo Anna would not have beat Fierceness. She was closing on him like a freight train, but he had just sort of.
Well, Johnny V would have kept drifting around the track another time.
But I just thought that he won in hand there. He likes the track. He's even better from what I hear this year. I didn't see him this year. I had the fortunate aspect to see him last year, but I think he's the best horse in the country. And I know White Barrio had that bullet workout, but I'm skeptical and sappy, Joseph. I laugh, Jason, when you don't like the Tory, because if you give me Rispoli in the Belmont, don't forget Rispoli's hero is Frankie the Tory. He's patterned
Yeah.
career after him. But I hear you with Frankie's a different character. We had a pretty successful time the last time we were on here. you all did pretty well. But my my worst pick was the Tory, so I'm not far from where you're at, Jason, with that. But yeah, I think Fierceness Town should handle White Barrio pretty handily. White Barrio's last Met mile was kind of he chased it. He was just weakened on the field. I don't think I think he's overrated, to be honest with you. He comes and he goes. So does Fierceness. I know that Fierceness had some clunkers, but I think as a 4-year-old now, he's a solid horse.
Yeah, I mean those clunkers, Jimmy, are. I think those days are behind him. I mean now he's on a 4-race streak where he's put in,
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
negative thoroughgraph numbers, triple digit buyer figures, whatever speed figures you want to look at. So that race on, race off looks to be behind him.
Yeah.
Jimmy the Chalk alluded to. They're putting him in here for breeding, right? This is the race where the mile it's a big breeding race. He's done everything around 2 turns that he could do. Now they want to cut him back to the mile, and prove what he could do, and get ready for his second career. So I think he's in the best form he's going to be to come into the race. I said it off air, and with Jimmy D on, you got to be a little careful because he does bring more eyes to the podcast. But I mean, the only way White Barrow wins this is if Safi has some new juice that he's like
Right.
unveiling for the Met Mile.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you look at White Barrio's last 3 one-turn races, ran second and missed a prospector at 2-5. Obviously demolished everybody in the optional claim, and then didn't run well in the Met Mile. So I mean, his one-turn races, which early in his career looked like he was a one-turn horse, has not been the best. But no, I'm gonna go Fierceness. I feel pretty good about that. Just a touch is. I mean, throughout the Derby, he hasn't run a bad race either, but I think he just cut below these horses, and so I'm Fierceness as well.
Let me throw this out.
And he'll be.
Do you think that Wilson Shoot's going to make a difference?
I mean, what isn't the inside generally pretty good in the shoot though?
Usually it's sort of like that half turn, and they kind of angle into the rail. They start from somewhere on Nelson Avenue out there.
Is it possible because there's only 5 horses, it might not matter? You know what I mean? Like with the less amount of horses in there.
Would they move them?
I don't know.
Or do they
I don't know if they'll start them from like 1 or 2 slots in on the gate either,
Yeah.
like not right on the rail. But I mean,
I don't know.
Abario lost in the Wilson Shoot last year. Maybe it wasn't the Wilson Shoot, but his record out of it is obviously not great.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps Fierceness. It probably forces him to go a little bit. Slide down here. It forces him to use his speed a little more early, and then kind of set up shot where he wants against Raging Torrent. Whether if he doesn't get out, he could be on the lead, or he's going to sit right off Raging Torrent. So, yeah, I don't see it being a problem. All right, let's move on to why we're on this podcast. It's the Pick 5. It's Belmont Day. It's at Saratoga. It starts with race 9. Which kicks off at 4:08 Eastern time. Always a tough race. The 5.5 Jaipur. It's grade 1 on the turf. Jason, we'll let you kick it off.
So I really dislike these turf sprints, but I'll do my best here. I'm not going to be earth shattering here because I'm not too crazy about these horses. They don't really look like grade 1 horses, but the 2 Think Big seems to me to clearly be the best horse in the field. He's coming off 2 grade 2 wins at least. He's 4 for 4 in the turf and the distance, so it looks like once they threw him on turf, he just kind of exploded. I'm also going to throw in the 9 though, AG Bullet. She's pretty fast. She does have a grade 2 win as well. I'm pretty sure they're the only 2. Well, maybe Arzak might, but he's just getting old. But nobody has a grade 1 win in the field. So I'm just going to stick with those 2 and try to get by. I really think Big wins, but 9 AG Bullets, she's a legitimate horse, so she's got a shot too. I'll just go 2 deep, 2 and 9.
Yeah, I'll pick it up because I had a similar opinion, but not to make. And I know the Kentucky Derby show turned into a disparagement against Italians. And I hate to say it, but you look who gave a horrific ride on AJ Bullitt in the race prior, which was the Unbridled at Churchill, was Rispoli. And now you look, Rispoli's off and Pratt's on. I mean, that's a gigantic
I have a
advantage for
similar angle later on. Similar, but not the same. But
Well, I mean, as I go through these cards, like if Pratt has a good day, I'm probably I'll hit
me
everything.
too. Same here. Yeah.
Because I mean, he's literally I think my top pick on almost every race. But so like similar to Jason, I'm 2-9. I'm gonna give out as I go through. I'm gonna give out my A's and B's. When I do my pick 5, I'll just do a caveman ticket. So I have it. I have 2 and 9. Think big. Now I do have 2 B's. One was the 3 R shot. So if you look at R shot, coming back to Saratoga could be what this horse needs. Ran its two of its best races at Saratoga and then the one at Keeneland. But with Saez aboard, he won a race second with Saez. Looked good at Saratoga, so maybe Saratoga Air gets him back. I know Jimmy D is big on that. And then the other one is the 7 Bold Journey for Billy Mott. I mean, you look at his races back in 23. I mean, he was a monster, turf specialist. He went overseas, never came back to form. He's obviously older, so it's many years ago, but he fires probably his best race in 2 years. He runs a 92 Beyer 4.2 Thoroughbred. Maybe he's coming back into form and he runs something similar to those races and to what Jason said. The horses aren't really that good in this race. You don't need to light the world on fire to kind of get home. So I'm A 2-9, B I'm 3-7. Chalky.
Yeah, luckily, Joe Colombo's not around anymore to chastise the podcast for defamation of the Italian. But obviously, the 2 mentioned already. My top pick is going to be a horse that's not mentioned yet, and that's the 4, My Boy Prince. Cut him back. This horse runs better at shorter distances. Question is the 5.5 going to be too short? But won 6 after a layoff last time out. Ran well second time off the layoff last year. Made a big jump on the sheets. And Les Cano is a sneaky good jock on that Saratoga turf. And Cassie has won some big turf races at Saratoga. So he would need to take another step forward, but pattern says he might be able to. So I'll put him on top if you get anywhere near 10-1. But the other horse obviously would be Think Big.
All right, Jimmy D.
Well, I mean, we get winners on this podcast. We might as well educate too. The Jaipur, which the race is called. In 1962, Jaipur was a horse that won the Withers, the Travers, and the Belmont Stakes. 3-year-old champion colt. I don't know if you guys would remember Willie Shoemaker, who was the best jockey at that time, champion jockey. Well, unfortunately, he was in an accident. Through his whole racing career, he avoided that and got in a car accident, which made him a quadriplegic, which was unfortunate late in his career. But Jaipur was a solid horse way back when even I was just a little kid. But
so appropriate that they name a turf sprint race after him, right?
Yeah,
he won a lot of them.
It's the truth. Jim, I can understand that. It had nothing to do with the turf and nothing to do with sprinting. It's really true. But they're just naming horses and naming races after anything, anybody. But anyhow, not to be protracted here, I like AJ Bullitt. I like the 9. I tossed his last race. The jockey changed from Rispoli to Pratt, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder because I heard you both allude to it. I think it's just light years ahead. And again, I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I guarantee if I owned journalism, there'd be another jock on him with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But he's a grade 1 shipper. He's grade 1 tested. I just think he's better. He's a notch better than this field. You mentioned the other ones with Think Big. I think Big could win the race. There's no question about it. But I'm not impressed with this race, and sure as hell shouldn't be a grade 1.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to race 10. It is a mile and 16th, also on the inner turf, the Pennine Ridge, which is a grade 3. So they did a lot of moving, shuffling and moving of these races. Is it because they move races to Friday now? because the
Well, if
Ogden
you
Fifth,
remember,
that's all
if you remember, the Pennine Ridge is usually the same day as the Penn
Penn
Derby.
Nat, yeah,
Penn
race.
Penn what is it called? What's that called?
And
Not Penn
mile.
Derby. Penn Mile. So yeah.
But yeah, because Ogden Fitz used to be, it used to be a whole different undercard to Belmont Days. I don't
Yeah,
know,
a lot of the big female races are on Friday now.
but yeah,
Acorn,
they kind of
Ogden,
did.
and I think that
Yeah.
just the game is Friday now.
Mhm.
So yeah, so this race is not. I mean, it's a grade 3 in the middle of the pick 5. I mean, not really a great field here. Chalky, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, not a great field is right because the even money favorite has won the Great One last time out in Zulu Kingdom, but numbers haven't been significantly better than a lot of these horses. I wanted to take the 7 Mibago, but he didn't set a fast pace last time and he still got run down. So Zulu Kingdom, I mean, I'm not going to pick a top pick, but I'll go with the 2 favorites. Zulu Kingdom, Pratt Brown just won the Great One at Churchill, and a 4 Flying Mohawk begrudgingly with the Tory, just because throw the Derby out. You've been making progression on turf and synthetic, so it should translate back to the turf here at Saratoga. Now he ran once, did not run well, but that was his first race, so maybe give him a pass on that. If you want more than that, you could go with almost anybody else, I think, because it's just not a great field. But I'm just going to go with those 2 and hope it gets me through.
Jimmy D.
I'm strong on Zulu Kingdom. In this previous podcast, I had picked that horse, and it did win that day. I think this horse, and the figures are not great on the horse. I understand that, and I'm really predominantly looking at the buyer's figures. But he just dominates these horses. If you look closely, the horses that challenge him do not want to come back against them, which I think is indicative of the fact that this horse, can dominate the field. I am looking for a 95 or better buyer in this race. I really am. I give Noble Confessor to 9 a little credit because he chased Zulu Kingdom to the wire one day. If it was me, I would have won 9. But Zulu Kingdom, and I hate to bring up the loser that I had last time, but I'm honest on the broadcast. But this would be my NISOs. This would be my solo singular pick in our pick 5. I like Zulu Kingdom.
Yeah, not too much different. I mean, I'm single A to the 1 Zulu Kingdom. But to Chalky's point, the numbers are not like out of this world. And when you see races where a horse is 6-5, but the numbers don't really dictate a 6-5, it's just by default. Like that's where you start to see some upsets. But I mean, geez, I know I got my readers on it. Yeah, I might need 3 pairs to find a horse that can upset the field. But I do have 2 Bs, but they're probably the 2 most logical afterwards. Well, maybe not. I guess Flying Mohawk, but the 3 States Rights with Sherry DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. I mean, the 2 races Ortiz ran 2 9s on the Thyrograph. Could improve off of that. Going to come off the pace. And then the other one is Mio Bago. I mean, I know Chalky said kind of hit a soft pace and couldn't hold, but I did hear one of the handicappers today. No horse went wire to wire on the turf on Churchill weekend, so maybe it was something up with that. It wasn't necessarily just the thing, and it's a switch back to IRAD. It's off of Jose. It's back to IRAD. If IRAD can get him out, doesn't look like there's much more pace. Maybe the 9 threatens to push the lead a little bit. Outside of that, the 2 possibly could push the lead. Zulu Kingdoms obviously has some early foot, but no real speed. So I could see the same setup where Bago's kind of on the lead and then Zulu Kingdom's sitting right there and probably the better horse, but maybe something happens and Bago just keeps going. But my A is 1 Zulu, and then my B's are 3 and 7. Jason?
So I'm single in here. So 1 Zulu Kingdom not only is the only Grade 1 winner, not only is the only Grade 2 winner, but is also the only Grade 3 winner in the field. So clearly a class of the field. He's versatile, although I do think Mibago is going to get the lead, and I think Zulu Kingdom's going to go by at the end. So I'm definitely single in the 1 to win, but I will give you an ice cold exacta 1 over 7.
Yes. Yeah, and just to point out to the listeners, that is Pratt on the 1. So we're now possibly 2 for 2 for Pratt. All right, let's move on to race 11, the 7 furlong Woody Stephens. It's a great one. Always one of the better races on Belmont Day. Jimmy D, we will kick it off with you.
Okay, as I started to say earlier about educating the people too, notice I skipped Pennine Ridge, the winner of the Jamaica Handicap, Hill Prince, and Choice Handicaps, which, what the hell are they? So when we go down to the Woody Stephens, everybody knows Woody Stephens was an old trainer, right? But he had the 5 consecutive Belmonts. Go ahead, guys. Who were they?
That's give me the talk.
Can't fool these guys very often, audience. I'll tell you.
Right? Yeah, Conquistador Cielo, right?
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I didn't hear you.
Conquistador Cielo was one
Correct.
of them.
That was his first one.
I'm not. He had a couple for that Kwiatkowski or whatever I think his name was or something, but I'm not going to remember all of them.
Caveat Swale, Creme Fraiche,
Well, yeah,
and Danzig Connection.
dancing
And
connection.
ironically, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. That's probably the most impressive feature, that this trainer had winners in the Belmont for those 5 consecutive years. That's impressive. But getting into who I like, I can't get off Chancer McPatrick. I'd like to. I was trying to go to Patch Adams. I can't do it. I saw Chancer McPatrick. I saw him in the Hopeful. He was outstanding as a 2-year-old. He loves Saratoga. You know what I think about loving Saratoga, horse for a course. And I'm also big about a third race off a layoff. There's usually some sort of major improvement. If the trainer is bringing him back in a slow way, Brown normally brings him back that way, but she's always looking for the summer months, the bigger purses. I don't blame him. Will he fire with all his bullets, early June? I'm not sure, but the only time I saw this horse, and Tommy, to your point, I see who's on him. So I understand this is another Flavian Pratt horse. The only horse I think that can beat him, who had a major race in a slop. We haven't mentioned that yet. I'm sure you guys will mention it at some point. There's a potential for rain out in Saratoga on Saturday. They're looking for it in the morning, but I've been out there too many times to predict anything. I used to tell people, look up at the sky. That's the only way you're going to know the weather. If it's raining on you, drain it. So I don't know, but if it rains, Patch Adams, I think, chances improve. But I think Chancer McPatrick would be my play. Certainly, I'd use Patch Adams behind him.
Yeah, I was gonna go to Jason, but I'll jump in here only because what Jimmy D just said is pretty much identical. I'm Chancer McPatrick. I always look for these cutbacks in the Woody Stephens. I think I go back to the Triniberg days where I think we hit every race on that Belmont where Triniberg cut back from the Derby and ran in, in the Belmont and just, won easily on the lead. Always look for these like Kentucky Derby horses, road horses who just can't get to this, should never have been on the road to the Derby because they're one-turn horses who cut back. And that's Chancer McPatrick, to a T. And it's Patch Adams for what it's worth. That was the same thing. With Patch Adams, he exploded in that last race in the slop. Lasix were on. Now Lasix come off. Does that factor in? Who knows? Because it's a sport where we just make up rules. So we just say you can't use Lasix. So you don't know how it's going to affect the horse. But Cox's numbers with Lasix off is phenomenal, of course. So might not factor in. But I'm A to Chancer 10. Patch Adams would be my B. And if it does come up sloppy, I would move Patch Adams, closer to Chancer as well. But I am single to the 10 here. Jason?
I don't know what else to add to what both you guys said. Like, I really, really like Chancer McPatrick in this race. He just seems like he's a one-turn horse. I love him coming back here. Like Jimmy D said, he likes Saratoga. I just see him running a big race here, and this will be my single on the card. Well, I'm singling last race too, but this will be like my main single. Like I may,
And
may mess.
you singled the race prior too. Don't forget.
That's what I was gonna say. I may mess around with Fargo, but I may mess around in different bets from Fargo. But in this
You're gonna
race,
have your pick 5 ticket's gonna cost $4.
it's gonna be it's 12.
Do
Actually,
they have when you
well,
put your
12
bet
for
in?
50 cents.
When you put your bet in, you do pick 5 and then just click Pratt, and it just gives you. You have to. Well, just give you
It's
all.
it's pretty close to that. But I guess I'll do it for $1 since for 50 cents it's
Oh,
12, so
wow.
it'll be $24. But
Chalky,
yeah,
anything. Chance as well.
Well, I can
And
guarantee
and I
he
think
was not going to win. That's
the 4
chance.
to 1 is the 4 to 1 is a joke.
Now,
Yeah.
I mean, I went back to I thought I said this. I went back and listened to the Bluegrass podcast we did where I said, I'm playing against him, but I'd like to see him cut back and run in some of these other races. And lo and behold, but we've seen Brown do this. Practical joke. Last year at domestic spending, the horses are on the Derby Trail, just not cutting it. And then he cuts back.
Or even Jack, who's the monster horse he had that got Jack?
starting with a Z, right? Wasn't there a horse
And
that
then,
started with-
and then he ran Zandon a little longer. He ran him long through like the trap.
No,
cut
he
him back.
had that other monster. He had that monster horse that broke his maiden, I think, on Belmont Day. Then the next year, Jack somebody.
Oh, Jackie. I was going to say Jackie Brown, not Jackie Brown.
But Jack,
He's Warrior.
You're thinking Jack
Jack-
Christopher. Yep,
Jack
Jack
Christopher.
Christopher.
Yeah.
Jack Christopher. Yep.
My second would be Patch Adams for the same reasons. And I am going to throw the one in there, Big Truz. I mean, when you pair ones in your first 2 races on Thorograph, like you could be a serious runner. Now he ran second to Patch Adams last time out Churchill in that slop race. Didn't break particularly well, but not too many, even debuting as a 3-year-old, do you see horses pair ones on their first 2 races. So if he is some kind of freak, I'll have him on there. But
I
everything
think
else,
that post plays against him a lot. That one post.
it
midfield.
obviously could hurt him for sure.
Yeah, we got two Baffords too. Both Mataket Road, who's cutting back a little bit, and Citizen Bull. Nobody paid any mind to them, right?
yeah, it's true.
no, not interested.
No.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks like the race should come up kind of fast too. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Odds and
lot of
music's going to go. I think the only way that horse has a chance to win again. So
and probably Citizen Bull or Mataket, but probably Citizen Bull. Gunmetal, Neequitas. I mean, there's a ton of speed on paper at least. Okay, let's move on to the race right before the Belmont, which is the Grade 1 Manhattan. It's going off at race 12. It's a mile and 3/16 on the turf. This is another one that the field just did not come up great as for a Grade 1 on the turf. Jason, we'll kick it off with you.
Yeah, for me, this is the toughest race in the sequence, and I'm spreading here. But my top pick is going to be the 2 integration with the major jockey upgrade of Frankie Dettori to Flavian Pratt.
That's different.
Yeah. But I'm also going to use a 3 Highway Robber. The 4 Carson Run. He's got a couple of Grade 1 wins. And one of them was on the spot good, right? So if the turf comes up somewhat, not firm, maybe it moves him up. I thought the 5 Deterministic might be possible loose on the lead with Carmouche, so I'm going to use him.
He ain't getting loose.
Why is that? There's who else you saying?
The 8. There's no other way for the 8 to go, right?
Corruption. Yeah, it's true. I just figure Carmouche is just going to just go, and they might battle on the lead, but Carmouche is definitely going to go with the horse. So, I mean, that was my only angle there. But 6 Spirit of St. Louis, got to throw him in, and the 9 Farbridge, is it?
I can't see anymore.
Farbridge.
That's it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be 6 deep in the race. There may be instances where I go all just because, I don't really have a strong opinion. I just think it's a tough race.
Yeah, I mean, I have really just 2 horses that Integration, I guess, could win. I'm not in love with Integration. I have 2 A's here, and I mean, I think one of them is is gonna win, and everybody knows why. But look, Jim Irsay died, and the Indiana Pacers won that series against the Knicks. I mean, look who the trainer of the 9 is. If it doesn't set up for anything better than Christophe Clement dying and now his I guess that's the son, right?
Yeah.
Taking over the training for this horse. The 9 Farbridge. It just I believe in all that crap. I think everything's fixed. I believe in all that junk. I think the 9's gonna win this race because of that. I really do. I mean, his numbers say so as well. I mean, his last 5 races, won 4 of the 5 Rosarios. Has tactical speed. He can sit right off of, I think, Deterministic and the 8 Corruption, which he should be able to get over from the 9 post pretty well. So I like the horse on paper, and then just the story, and then Spirit of St. Louis. I mean, Franco's won 7 of 9 times he's rode him. He just exploded in the lane in Churchill. There should be, I mean, there's a decent pace, enough pace to run into. He's the best horse in the field. He's a multiple Grade 1 winner. Um, I think he's far and away better, the best horse in the field. So I'm 6'9" here in the Manhattan. Chalky?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's far the Spirit of St. Louis has ever run. It may not matter, and it's hard to argue he's not the best horse in the race. But I also find it hard to believe that Miguel Clement is not going to win a race on Saturday, where you can have that moment in the winner's circle, preferably on national television. From my top pick is the 9 Farbridge. And for race-related reasons, you kind of articulated all that. I would have Deterministic in there as well, and then Spirit of St. Louis. So the logicals, for sure.
Jimmy D.
Well, as we continue our educational aspect of these races, this is Manhattan. That's named after a overcrowded, rife with crime, no good, litter-strewn borough of New York. And trust me, the Algonquin Indians sold it for $24, and they got the better end of the deal because that is one piece of garbage area if I've ever seen one. Thank you, my New York friends. I'm sure I'll get a good, pleasant greeting when I come to Saratoga. I'm not.
They have good pizza though. John's a Bleecker.
I don't see much different than you guys said. You know, it's really funny. Miguel Clement has been in the winner's circle now a couple times on Wednesday and one time today. So maybe twice so far he's been in the winner's circle. And he had his crying and, all that kind of thing. And Casio is his wife, is, the announcer. But I believe in it too, Tommy. I believe in it too. I think there's something to be said for that. Whether it's karma, whether it's fate, I don't know. That would be my top choice, but I certainly don't. I respect Spirit of St. Louis. It beat me the last time out when we had the last podcast, and I had him second or third, and he won the race. I should have had him first. I love the fact that he's almost a $2 million Spirit of St. Louis. You got to love the horse. Hard hitter, comes back every time. Franco is fabulous on this horse. Sometimes Franco's just, it's like 'tis the law. He just knows a horse. And he's not, the top tier, but when he's with a horse like that, they just seem to respond to him. So I would go too deep with that with Farbridge and Spirit of St. Louis.
All right. As we breeze through the Belmont Stakes podcast here, we are on to why we're here tonight. The 1.25 mile Belmont Grade 1 at Saratoga Racecourse. We will kick it off. We're not going to go horse by horse, but we can go a little more in depth because we're kind of flying through here. Not a huge field, 8 horses. You got the Derby winner in this race. You got the Preakness winner in this race. And you got the show trifecta horse of the Derby back in this race. And then a couple new shooters to the Triple Crown Road. Jason, where are you at?
All right. So my main opinion here is going to be to fade Sovereignty, to win. Not necessarily for the board, but to win. And I'm going to be too deep. Um, I'm glad the Crudo entered the race to give Rodriguez company out front because I was kind of concerned that Rodriguez was going to be the only speed horse in the race, and we know what happens when that, with Baffert. But I see no other way but Crudo to go to the lead, along with Rodriguez. So I think they're both going to duel, and I think the 6 by 8 gets first jump on him. His first. If you guys have, I'm sure you have, but if you looked at his thoroughgraphs, they're perfect for this race. He paired zeros with some time off, and he's kind of ready for a top. Um, and then going back to the Derby, I know I mentioned it to you guys, maybe separately, maybe on this podcast, but I thought he lost ground down the stretch. And if he didn't lose ground down the stretch, I thought for sure he would have had second. And he might have even, you know, been up there with Sovereignty. Not saying he would have went by Sovereignty, but it would have been close. So all that being said, I've been waiting to bet him to win. However, I just think Seven Journalism is just a special horse. So I have to use him here as well. My only concern is running the 3 times in 5 weeks. Does that take a little bit out of him? And, is he a little vulnerable here? It's possible. And it could ding him just enough for Baeza to kind of hold him off down the stretch. Um, but I'm going to be using those two to win. Um, I'm going to, I'll mess around with Sovereignty. Definitely third, maybe second on some of my bets. But I like the one Hill Road also to kind of clunk up. He might be like your superfecta horse. If not, if he might even be able to clunk up for third. But I think he's an up and coming horse, and I don't think he has a chance to win. But he just might be a horse that passes some tired horses down the stretch. I will throw in one thing: the 4 on Cage looks like he has no chance, but he is 2 for 2 if it comes up sloppy on wet. And he did win at the Spa on wet Spa dirt. Not all slop is the same. So, um, I don't think he could get anywhere more than fourth. But again, that's another horse. If you're playing a superfecta, you might want to throw him in if it's a sloppy track. So, uh, begrudgingly, because I really like journalism, I'm going to slightly pick Baeza first as my. I'll have them both as A's. But if you ask me to pick a winner, I'll give you Baeza.
Yeah, so I'll jump in here because I'm kind of similar but a little different. Um, I'm single to Baeza here myself. So, I think the race sets out with his tactical speed. He closed into at the Santa Anita Derby. He closed into that his stablemate. Made it like a nice middle move into that race. Couldn't hold off journalism. At the end, in the Derby, he ran the same thoroughgraph as Sovereignty because of that ground loss that Jason alluded to. I mean, Sovereignty wins the race and runs a 0 bays. Well, a little bit less, I guess, a 0-3, but similar because of the ground loss, which thoroughgraph does take into account. That running the Derby, having off, and then running the Belmont is so key to winning this race rather than running in all 3 races. I mean,
Yeah.
if journalism would have won the Derby, we're saying the reason why journalism don't win the Triple Crown is because it's hard to win 3 races in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I can't not use that against him in this race. And he got bounced around pretty good in the Preakness. You don't know what that did to him, what that took out. Now, again, I don't think McCarthy's running the horse if he's not fit. So I don't think that's an issue, but you don't know what it's going to take into the race. You got Rispoli, who has to navigate again from an outside, the outside post. We've alluded to Rispoli. So here's the thing that I will say that's kind of doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to say it. I think journalism has a better chance to win the race than Sovereignty has to win the race. I think Sovereignty has a better chance to finish second than journalism to finish second, if that makes sense. So I think journalism either wins or he's third, fourth, fifth, down the road. I like Sovereignty a lot for second, but I don't think he's going to pass Baeza in the stretch for the win. I do think Journalism could win the race just because, like Jason said, he's kind of a freakish horse. But for handicapping purposes, I'm gonna go with Baeza as my top pick. I like Sovereignty a lot for second, in this race, and then third, I think it's gonna be one of those faders. It's a Rodriguez or it's a Crudo who's gonna just fade to third, off of the speed, and then obviously Journalism might just be good enough to be third, even if he's not totally fit, out of this race. But Baeza is a single for me, in the Belmont. Chalky.
Yeah, Baeza is the top pick. Kuka tries to be the second mare to throw 2 Belmont winners in a row, although different circumstances. But she's got a Derby winner in Beige and Belmont winner last year in Dornops. That it's still a 1.25 mile race, so that's an interesting storyline. But I mean, look, this horse has gotten better every race. Has now paired zeros on the sheets. Okay, that's better than Journalism has done over the last couple races. I think Journalism is probably the better horse overall, but the third race in 5 weeks, I think he's fit. I think I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but Baeza had all kinds of trouble in this 8-horse field. He shouldn't have that kind of trouble. And we watched Rispoli get Journalism into trouble in a 9-horse field in the Preakness. So there's no guarantee Journalism is going to get a clean trip, whereas Baeza, hopefully he's going to be a little more forward-placed. And of course, he's got Pratt on him. So we got to go there, But those are the two. I think Sovereignty will account himself well, but he's not going to get the pace set up to win the race. So Baeza in Journalism, but Baeza is my top.
Jimmy D.
Well, as we conclude our history lesson, Augusta Belmont was a banker, a racing man, and a crook. He spent most of his money into the racing industry. His son continued that. So they named the race after him. Skeptical history. And they gave him the biggest trophy that they possibly can give in a racing situation. He's one of those typical New York Yankee type of thing. It's way overblown. It's way too much. And when I get to New York, I'm going to pay for this, but give me a break. These guys are just so overrated. So is this race. Drosselmeyer, Detara, Shareva. These are horses that won the Belmont. I was fortunate enough to pick Sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby. And like I said, fortunate. Why in the world would I come back to Sovereignty now? It's going to be 2-1, 3-1, maybe 4-1. I got $18 a few weeks back. Yeah. Should I go to Journalism? Proven himself. He's running in every facet of these races, which Mott kind of pulled out of, which I thought was a lame move because, he's a Godolphin. I guess it is an American thing. I thought he should have ran. However, he did not. In the best interest of the horses, well, I don't know about that, Billy Mott. Was it in the best interest of your family when you missed the birthday parties? Come on. That's all bullshit. But I think in this particular situation, I could not go back to Sovereignty. I don't want to pick Journalism because Sovereignty looked him right in the eye and went on by. So now I'm going to pick a race favorite in that. He's going to get 8-5. How could you do that? We're trying to give winners to our public here, and our public's getting bigger. That's fine. So now if I want to go to Baeza, what do I do with Baeza? Now he's got to beat Rodriguez, who beat him, Journalism, who beat him, and Sovereignty, who beat him. So what do I do with that? And he's going to be 4 or 5-1. This is the one race to my fans and your fans and Broad Street Hustle fans, and I'm going to punk out. I'm going to put them all 3 in there. And I'm not so sure Hill Road couldn't come up with a big race on that particular day either. The Peter Pan gave you Dornox last year, who went on to win this 1.25 miles, which is an abominable thing. It should be 1.5 miles, but that track doesn't figure to 1.5 miles. I don't like this particular race for value. And if we're going to give the betting public a chance, this is not the race to give them a chance with. They're alive in a pick 5, great. That's different. But if I'm giving somebody the winner, and I know a lot of people are looking for the winner of the Belmont, you just can't do it. Sovereignty can lose to journalism. Journalism can lose to sovereignty. Like you said, this could be Baez's biggest race. I even think Hill Road has a shot, but I don't think there's any value in this race. I'd back off it.
I don't like to take shots at Jimmy D, but I think you hit the Derby, and now you don't want to put your reputation on the line. So you chickened out and you picked 3. You pulled a chalky and
Wow.
took the whole field. That's what I think you did.
Hold on now. Jason takes the whole field. Like, it lists like 6 horses that could be whatever.
Where did I take the whole field? I give you 2
Oh,
horses.
we got transcripts.
Yeah, the Manhattan. You said.
Oh, well, yeah.
No,
All right.
thanks for history. There's 10. I like 10 of the 12 horses in this. You know, like the Masters. Jesus.
All right. Well,
Man.
let's. Anything else to add, fellas, on the Belmont itself, on this race? I mean, Jimmy D makes a good point. It's a mile and a quarter. It's Saratoga. It is, it does take a little bit out of it, but
To me, this could be a year where, like, there's 3 good horses, very good horses that are out above the rest, and one of them wins each race,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
it reminds me of, I mean, like looking at this 2006, you had Straight Sense comes and wins from behind. Curlin runs third. Curlin comes back to get the Preakness, and then you get Rags to Riches, who ran the day before the Derby, comes back and nips Curlin the Belmont. So I could see that with Baez that journalism this time around for sure. And I don't think he's going to win the race, but I mean, maybe Rodriguez is a good horse too. He didn't beat much, but look at some of his numbers. He's throwing the foot. Maybe he turns into. So it's a short field, but you got 4 maybe quality horses in it as it is right now. But yeah, I think you get. Well, we're all picking. Well, not Jimmy, because he could in theory, because we could all have picked a third different winner for the.
One thing you're gonna say after Saturday night is Jimmy D was not wrong, because he'll have every horse,
unless Crudo pulls it out. Or uncaged.
I will leave you with this, Tom, because I always enjoy this podcast, and I hope to join you guys at Saratoga and hopefully see you up at Saratoga. One thing I want to say before we leave this broadcast is the Triple Crown discussion. I'm a traditionalist. You want to change things. I get it. Sometimes change is for the better. Sometimes it isn't. But since Tommy's always challenged me with this, and I enjoy that, by the way, I'll leave you with this, my friend. The Triple Crown discussions go round and round. Skeptics decry. Changes must be found. Beware if you mess with history, you mess with fate. Are you seeking good horses, or are you seeking great? Just 5 short weeks from go to woe. Only the greatest will vanquish every foe. From the first, Sir Barton, to the 13th, Justified. Very best of the best. The Triple Crown is why.
I like it.
However, we still have to do our pick fives, so we can't necessarily end on
off
the
yet.
No, I don't want to end with that, but that's too much pressure on me.
Yeah.
So with that, Jason, did you have a pick 5 that you want to give out as we just went through all the
I
races?
do. My dollar pick 5 that'll cost $24. In race 9, I'm too deep. I guess I could call the names out. The 2 Think Big and the 9 AG Bullet. Race 10, single to Zulu Kingdom. I shouldn't do that because I have it written down. Race 11, single to Chancellor McPatrick. Race 12, I'm not going to call out every name of the horse, but I'm 6 deep. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. And then I'm too deep in the Belmont, the 6 Baeza, and the 7 Journalism for $1. That is $24.
How about you, Chalky? Big five?
Pick 5, race 9, 2-4, race 10, 1-4, race 11, 1-4-10, race 12, 5-6-9, race 13, 6-7, 50 cents. That's $36.
Jimmy D.
Got a
Big five ticket.
$40.50 pick 5, 50 cent. Race 9, 239. I single the 10, the 10th race with the 1. In the 11th, 4, 8, 10. The 12th, 2, 6, 9. And in the 13th, which I so eloquently backed away from, 1, 2, 7. I would give you there, and hopefully for $40.50, you can hit maybe a few $100s.
Yeah, and I'll go through and again I gave out A's and B's, but I'll just throw out a caveman here. So race 9, I was 2-3-7-9. That's Think Big, Our Shot, Old Journey maybe, and the AG Bullet. The race 10, 1-3-7 Zulu Kingdom, and the 2 Ortiz horses. I don't remember their name. This is where I would possibly single Zulu on a different ticket, FYI. Race I guess 11 now. Single to the 10, which was
Chancer
McPatrick. This is also where maybe you can add a Patch Adams in if the weather kind of looks a little sloppy. Race 12, I am 2-6-9. I would throw integration in there just to. I think it would be funny to see Pratt win all 5 races and not have that. So I would be 2-6-9, and then race for the Belmont. I'm single to the 6, which is Baeza. So on a caveman for $1, it's $36. All right. Anything else before we sign off of episode 159, Broad Street Hustle, Belmont Stakes?
Tommy, I hope Brad has a good night on Friday night. Otherwise, we're rolling.
Yeah, right.
Trouble.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Torian Rispoli win every race.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just a little side note. Next week is U.S. Open. We will be broadcasting on Monday because we are actually going to the first round in Pittsburgh and the U.S. Open. So got to get it out there Monday. Probably post it on Tuesday, so plenty of time for everybody to listen and wager appropriately. But episode 159, Broad Street Hustle, Belmont Stakes. Have a great night.
See you in Saratoga.